All right. Today's mini training, we'll keep it short and sweet, is all about RPR. So, to use RPR, you have to have a national board membership. So don't worry if you belong to your county association, like Lawrence County, Beaver County, Mercer County, Allegheny County, then you have a NAR membership. They're all inclusive. So when you pay for one, you pay for all. But as long as you have a NAR number, you are able to access RPR. If you have opted out of the Board of Realtors, you cannot access RPR. It is one of those NAR tools. There is really no workaround other than going through the MLS and doing a CMA that way, which isn't as cool, I promise you. So when you log into RPR, you just sign in with your email address and password. You can do this by going to narrpr.com, or you can do it from your one login tile screen. We do have an RPR tile on your one login, so it makes it super easy. You never have to remember what the URL is. This is the dashboard. This gives you all of the options in which you can do certain functions within RPR. And there's lots of things that you can do. Traditionally, we use them for CMAs, but there's way more than that you can do with RPR when it comes to your research. That just really makes life easy. Like when they came out with this was a game changer, because what took an entire 8 hours to pull, RPR can do in less than 5 minutes. So it is really a game changer. So glad that they came out with this program, and it keeps getting better every update. So I've been really, really happy with it. So here's just kind of your dashboard. It'll tell you if you have any current listings. I don't have mine connected, so you're not going to see anything. I don't do a whole lot of listings right now, so I don't have them in there. Here's my searches. So I have a couple saved searches in there that I have done. There's discussions. You can connect to RPR's Facebook page. I have not done so, but if you want to keep up to date, especially if you want to know different updates and stuff that they've done or different questions, I've gone to their Facebook page. I just haven't connected it through my system. There is training here that you can do with RPR. So if you want to expand your knowledge after this mini training and go on to find even bigger and better things that I may not even know about, you can do that right here through RPR Learning. And then, of course, you can call them anytime you need them. So just some basic functions. You can do a property search here. You can do some prospecting here. And we do have a one blog training, which we will repeat. But if you want to go back and look at it, we do have that in the ROGU agent blog. If you want to check market trends, you can go here. If you want to see a search on a map, you can do that here. Create a CMA here, create reports, and then here's your RPR mobile app. So you can actually put the app on your phone now and do almost all of these functions on your mobile app, which is absolutely amazing. So I'm going to start with the very, very basics, and that's going to be a property search. Okay, so you can do that by clicking here for a guided tour on how to do that, or if you just know how to do it, you can put it up in here. One quick note that RPR works best on residential properties. Residential single-family homes is where this works best. So if you're looking at duplexes, triplexes, quads, if you're searching anything like that, your information may not always be accurate. So just please keep that in mind, that this program works best, as with all CMAs, a single-family home. Now, you can pull commercial. You have to toggle this button. You see what I did? You have to toggle the commercial button, and you can search commercial addresses. But again, RPR works best with single family residential homes. Okay, so I'm going to use my home as an example, but let's say I get a lead that comes into the office and it's a seller that I want to call, and I want to look like the world's like stellar agent. I want this seller to think I am the, not a, but the agent in the Mohawk area. So I see that on their ticket, there on their lead ticket, it says they're a seller. They're interested in selling 102 O'Hyler Drive, Eden Valley. So I'm going to plug that in. This is going to pull up the property information right in front of you. So you can go ahead and look at this while you're talking to that client. Okay, so if I pull up my house, this is a very old picture of my house. But if you pull up the house, the property address, it's going to give you the 10,000 foot view overview of what that house is. So you can see that we purchased it back in 2012 for $249,900. You can see that it's not currently on the market, and this is all coming from public record search. It is a 4-bedroom, 3-bath home, it says, and actually our home is a 4-bedroom, 2.5-bath home. So it technically, yes, it has 3 bathrooms, but it is 2.5. So I always use mine as an example because RPR does have some errors in it. We do not have 3 full baths. We have 2.5 baths. Square footage is pretty accurate at 2,688 square feet. This is also inaccurate. It says 1.53 acres when we have 4 acres. Could anybody maybe give me a guess as to why that would be inaccurate?
Would it have been a purchase of more acreage after?
You got it. That's absolutely 100% the correct response. So when the home was purchased, it was purchased with 1.53 acres, and we purchased additional acreage after the fact that adjoins our property. So yes, absolutely. Good job, Charlie. So this is inaccurate. So these are things
I knew that answer already.
What's that?
I cheated. I knew that answer already.
Oh, okay. So you definitely want to confirm with your lead on the phone that the information is accurate, because a lot can happen. As you can see, the last market data we have on this property is 2012. So a lot can change in that number of years, right? A lot of things can change. So we could have added an addition. We could have added another bath. One thing we did is we added another garage. So instead of a 2-car garage, now we have a 3-car garage. We have a 2-car attached and a 1-car detached. So a lot of things can happen. A lot of things can change over the time period, especially if the seller has owned that property for an extended period of time. So you want to confirm that. But just saying, hey, Mr. Seller, I see the home. I'm familiar with the home that you have there at 1020 Hyler Drive in Eden Valley. Just to confirm that the information I have is correct, I see from my records that it looks like a 4-bedroom, 3-bath home that's about approximately just under 2,700 square feet on 1.53 acres based on the last sale. Has anything changed since you purchased the property? And then that gets them talking. Oh, yeah, it actually has. Actually, we have 2.5 baths, and we purchased the neighboring building lot. So we now have 4 acres, and we added a 1-car detached garage that wasn't there before. Okay, so that gets them talking about the house. Now you're going to see under that, there is this AVM with this little eyeball here. So if you click on this, it's going to tell you more about what that score means. And it says an AVM estimated value are generated by multiple automated valuation models to provide an estimated property value. An AVM does not include MLS data, public record search exclusively, and may be less accurate than our RVM. A property is assigned an AVM instead of an RVM when not enough data is available or when proprietary criteria is not met. So when you have an RVM score, and it'll come up automatically. When you have an RVM score, that's taking MLS data. It means that the AI program on the back end has so much data that it is fairly accurate. It is pretty damn accurate, other than estimating the overall condition of the property. If all of the homes are exactly the same in the same neighborhood, that RVM scores is pretty close. Now, the AVM means that they're just taking a general average. So in the location where my home is located, it is extremely rural. It is extremely rural. So you've got acres and acres and acres, sometimes hundreds of acres because it's farmland in between houses. Plus, we have a large number of Amish families in our community who do not traditionally sell on the MLS. So it is taking public data because there's not enough data on the MLS to support an RVM. So it is taking just public data from the courthouse and plugging that in. So it's warning you here that the AVM, although as accurate as AI can get it, is a pretty good sense of the general value of the property. It still requires you to have human interaction if you're going to run a CMA. Okay. So it's telling you here that the estimated AVM range of our neighborhood of all of the comps sold is going to be at lowest 385, at highest 510. So that's where our neighbor's sale price is hitting. And then here it would tell you AVM or RVM confidence score. Okay. And it goes from 1 to 5. And if you hit this little eyeball, it describes the expected accuracy of the property's RVM or AVM estimated value. A 5-star rating is the highest confidence score, with 0 being the lowest. Okay, so this has 4 stars. So it's telling you that it's fairly accurate. Of course, it still requires human interaction because it's an AVM score and not an RVM score. And even if it is an RVM, you'd still want to go out there and take a look at it anyway. I mean, because we all know that you could walk into a house and it look like a freaking museum with granite or quartz countertops and brand new fixtures and fresh paint and new flooring. And then we could also walk into the same house that looks exactly the same on the outside, and the person who lives there is a cat hoarder. You don't know. You don't know. Not everybody lives the same. And let's face it, we're all real estate professionals here. We know this. Not everybody lives the same. So you're still required to go out there and actually see the property. I can tell you just from knowing Mohawk so well that this AVM is slightly inflated. Slightly. It's not far off, but I would say it's a little higher than if I was going to sell my own house. What I would sell it for, knowing the neighborhood, knowing, the age and the condition of the surrounding properties. I would say that if I was going to list my house today, I would be putting that on the market for maybe $415 to $425. So again, this is my house. I'm an agent. I would love to get $448 for it, but that's just really not realistic. Okay. So it's also going to tell you how much it has changed over the month and how much it has changed over the year. Now, there is a huge change here. Can anybody guess why we would have such an increase in value over the course of 1 year? 17% is way higher than the 2 to 3% we normally see in most neighborhoods. Why has this home increased in value so much over the last year? Any guesses?
COVID? I don't know.
No, not COVID. COVID's behind us. Just this last year. What would this be indicative of?
Would it be new builds and other property increases in the surrounding area?
Nope, we don't have any not too much new construction in our area. This is because of lack of inventory. There is no homes for sale in Mohawk, and there hasn't been for a good 2 years. There are no homes for sale. And the ones that are for sale are usually overpriced, or they go so quickly that there's just not enough inventory in the city of Mohawk right now, because you are so rural out there. So most people buy their homes, they stay in their homes forever, and they never leave, which is exactly what I'll end up doing. So that's why there's such a change. So this is going to be your indicator score on how successful your listing will likely be. Just telling you how of high demand that market is. And a lot of that based in Mohawk is on the high rating of the school district and the amount of space you have between you and your neighbors. So that's kind of indicative of Mohawk. If somebody wants to be off the grid, Mohawk is a good place to live. Laurel is very similar to that. So if you have any clients, I mean, my house isn't for sale, but those might be school districts you want to look into. All right. So this is going over some pricing tools here. You can pull a CMA value here. You can pull a refined value. Estimated equity. Somebody had asked me that today. I think it was Anna. She's not on the call. Estimated equity. You can do that now. You can do a seller's net sheet right here. So you can do that. Here, it's telling you, hey, here's the property facts. If any of these are wrong, can you let us know? So what I would do is update this to 2.5 baths. I don't think it's going to let me. Nope, it doesn't let me. So 2 full baths, 1 partial bath. Here it is. It has it broken down below. Square footage is the same. Acreage here, we have 4 acres. So I'm going to put that in. Garage, yes, it says garage space is 2. We actually have 3. So we're going to update that. Year built 1999, 7 rooms, colonial style, roofing. We have 4 stair, yes. Full basement, yes. Frame construction, good, good, and good. Let's save that. All right, perfect. It is saved. So that's going to go in their database, and then eventually they will update that information whenever they feel like it. All right, back in property information, if you want to look a little further, you can go to the map location here, which is great. I love this. This is going to show you what else is in the neighborhood and what other homes are selling for in the neighborhood. So here is my home right here. And you can see all of this open space. We're out here. Here's our neighbor's home right here. This is Mr. Mangino's home. You can see that his AVM is 296 here. It's Mr. Mangino, nice people. And then our other closest neighbor is going to be this little farm over here. These are the farm people. That's Hodgco's. I don't know them, but I do know their dog that wanders over to our property every once in a while. So these are really our only neighbors, other than these people are across the street who have a farm, and those are also Hodgco's as well. So, and that is a rental. So this really gives you a look at, what's around the area, and you can really zoom out on this. You can see, if there's any predominant waterways out here. Here's the 76 highway. So I got a question from an agent, can't remember who it was, about there was an industrial plant too close to the house, and they had a buyer who was concerned about it. So you can actually check that on this interactive map here. So you can change the type of map by coming into here, and you can change that. You can change your data layers here as well. So you can check it. You can apply flood zones in here. And you can see here that this is not a flood zone. We do have access to this on our MLS. We get the FEMA maps on our MLS as well. But if you want to see something interactive, you can do that here. All right, next we're going to go into market trends. This is all about our marketing. Unfortunately, like I said, we have an AVM score, so there's not enough market data for the selected property here. So it's not pulling up anything. And that can be really disheartening because you're not able to see like what the active listings are, what the sold listings are. The problem is there's really not enough to pull the data. But what you can provide on every single listing is the listing inventory. So single family homes, how many do we currently have in the market? Looks like 1 within that area of that zip code. Lots and lands, we've got 1. And farms and ranches, we have 1. Here's the thing is how many foreclosures do we have? It looks like there's 4 homes that are in the process of being foreclosed in 16120. And then there's 1 foreclosed property. So if you work with an investor who really wants to be in this area, you can keep an eye on this gauge and say, okay, we have 1 foreclosed property that was recently foreclosed at the courthouse. We got notification of that. So it's coming. So that kind of helps you hone in on what's coming available to that market. This here is going to give you the median estimated property value. So the median value in that neighborhood is $270,400. So if my AVM was $430 something. Why would it be that high if the median estimated value is only $270? What could make it do that? What are the variables in there that make this home much more expensive than the median estimated value? Any guesses? You got to think outside the box because these are things that you're going to need to know if you're working with the seller. And they say you pull the data, and the data is coming up median value 270, and they're telling you that they want 400 for the house. Why could that? How could that be? All right. Well, I'll give you a clue on it. There are certain factors that do not meet the median. So just because we have a median home value, the median is assuming that all homes are exactly the same, right? All homes are exactly the same. That's what it's estimating, is that all homes are identical. But if we go back to my map location, I can tell you that our home here has had many updates to it. And we bought the extra acreage, which bumps it up to 448, where our neighbors over here are sitting on 1.5 acres. They don't have any outbuildings, not very many updates. Then you go over here to the Hodge's house, and it's an old farmhouse and trailer. So it has a lot of acreage, but it's an old farmhouse. If I had to guess, 120 years old, very rundown. And then if you go over here to this property, 145, this is an old farmhouse, again, probably 90 to 100 years old, with an old barn on it. And it only has 1.38 acres on that parcel. So you have to kind of look at those details. When our home is sitting on 4 acres, it has additional outbuildings, and it was built in 1999, as opposed to being built in 1899. So those are some variables that you're going to want to look at when you're looking at market trends and why the median value. So if you're getting this really low median value, but this really high, RVR, or the client is saying, hey, my home is worth 400,000, but you're seeing it doesn't meet the market, then you have to start to spot the differences. So what are those differences that is causing the seller to believe, or the system to believe, that the home is worth way higher than the neighboring homes? Does that make sense? All right, you guys are quiet. All right, refined value. This is where you can really refine down the value of the property. So again, you can take a look and make changes to any of these. So if we go into update facts here, you can put in that they added a bedroom. So if I would make this, which I'm not going to, but if I would make this 5 bedrooms, then you can add a value change to that. Well, now if we have this 1.53 acres and we put in 4 acres here, we can actually change the value by maybe another $25,000 if we wanted to. That's not something I'm going to do, because I already know that 448 is too high for this property. It's calculating it artificially high, so I would want to bring that down. Another thing you can do is, if you're talking to the seller and you're working out that when he bought the house, it was builder's grade everything. We hear that term all the time, builder's grade. So if it was builder's grade everything, and he made a master suite bathroom remodel with a jet tub and a walk-in shower, and he's got, it's a stone shower with the rainfall heads and the little things that shoot out the side, and he's got a bidet in there, and the whole shebang, So you can put that in here, is that this was completed in July of 2025, and the cost in which he spent on that bathroom is $25,000, which is insane to spend on a bathroom because I'm cheap, but you could put that in and it's going to value the change of improvements. So if we add that in, he's getting an additional $7,900 for the value of the bathroom upgrade that is above and beyond what the market normal is. And I want to stress this, above and beyond the market normal. So question I get asked a lot with CMAs is, well, my seller wants more for their property because they installed a new roof. My question is, why did they install a new roof? Well, because the other one went bad. Okay, well, a new roof is great, but it doesn't really add value to the property because it's a structural aspect. But a bad roof will actually depreciate the property because it's beyond its useful lifespan. Does that make sense? You would assume when you're purchasing a property, it has a roof that doesn't leak, whether it's brand new or 5 years old or 10 years old, the fact is the roof is there. However, if the roof is leaking and now you've got mold in it and it needs all new everything, then it actually depreciates the property. But it doesn't add real and true value to the property because it's part of the overall property. Okay. So when we talk about a bathroom remodel and you've got 4 walls, a builder's grade tub, an average vanity, and a toilet, it's really not adding value. But if you are doing maybe a custom made laid out kitchen, and instead of Formica countertops, which most of the homes had, again, we have quartz countertops, we have we have the high-end cabinets with all the organizers and the special pull-out drawers, and they've added a dishwasher, which most homes in that neighborhood don't have, and a garbage disposal, and the little fancy pasta arm on the stove that I've never had but always wanted. Those are upgrades above and beyond the market normal. So that's where you would add those here is your home improvement. Just don't fall down the pitfall of assuming when a seller says, well, I've done this and I've done this and I've done this. You need to make sure that they are above and beyond the marketable normal. And so having an upscale bathroom remodel of walk-in shower, soaking tub, all of these double sink, double vanity, the whole thing, that would be over and above what we would see in our neighborhood out in Eden Valley, again, because most of the homes are old farmhouses that, have a lot of land, but really don't have a lot of glitz and glamour. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take that off just because we did not do that. I still have a builder's grade bathroom. I just would rather invest my money in chickens at this point. But here we are. Okay. So you can also add needed improvements here as well. So what does the home need? So you can actually depreciate the value of the property. Let me reset that value because I don't want that to stay. So you can actually depreciate the value of the property without all the guesswork. And I always get asked, like when we're doing CMAs and how much do we add in for an additional bedroom? How much do we add in for an additional bath? How much do we add in for this or for that? The answer is there is no sheet out there that tells you that, you're going to add 10,000 for a bedroom or you're going to add 7,000 for an additional stall garage. It's not that easy. I wish it was. It's just not that easy because it's subjective to the neighborhood and what the overall median home sale price is and what's expected in that neighborhood. What I love about RPR is when you're doing this refined value, and I'm going to do that again for this bathroom remodel. If you notice, when I put in $25,000 and I click add improvement, it's only giving me a change of $7,900. So it's taking that guesswork out of there. You don't have to know the answer. You just have to ask the question. Mr. Seller, when you did your remodel, what was the estimated price that you spent on this remodel? $25,000. Okay, great. Well, now we know it's adding $7,900 to that price. Does that make sense? Yeah. And then maybe it does need a roof. And we know by talking to the seller or just having the experience of working with roofers before that this home's going to need a roof and it's going to need it in the amount of $15,000 because the roof is leaking. So we're going to add that improvement in and look what it did. It depreciated it by $15,000 because it needs a roof. Full disclosure, my house will need a roof within the next couple of years. That's not inaccurate. So this kind of takes the guesswork out of it. What you want to do is ask the right questions. Oh, your home needs a roof. Have you gotten a roof bid? You did. You got a bid. What was that bid you got last year? It was for $15,000. Okay, great. That's super helpful. If it's not, you can actually Google or go into ChatGPT and tell ChatGPT that you have a 2-story, 2,700 square foot home that needs a roof. What is the average cost to replace the roof here in Western Pennsylvania or in the Pittsburgh market? And it's going to slam you out a generalized number. You can use that. Okay. Questions on this stuff? Nope. You guys learning anything? Did you guys all leave me? I think Ebony fell asleep.
No,
I'm
good stuff.
following along.
Okay, great. All right, so refined value. And down here on refined value, there's all these little doodads down here where you can actually go in after you've seen the house and do a revised CMA. All of these little functions are available not only on the property information, but on your CMA as well. So just so you know this, they're all there for you. So let's say the market condition they have is average. I'm going to say that Mohawk is a little, I don't want it to go slow. It's a little hotter than normal. Okay. So I do get the question a lot of like, well, it's a hot market. Like, should we overprice it slightly? Well, that's really up to you and how you want to do your marketing. And that's a conversation you need to have with your seller, because my strategy is that I always underprice it a little to get multiple offers to drive up the price. But again, that has to be approved by your seller. So you can make adjustments for this. And then look at this home exterior condition. So as we know, sometimes we pull up and the yard is beautifully, meticulously landscaped. Sometimes we come up and there's like a car on concrete blocks sitting in the front yard, and there's like 15 tires sitting on the back patio. Like, it just happens. Not everybody lives the same. Okay. So we're going to say that this one is maybe a little less than. And then lot size. How is the lot size? You can dial that up or dial it down. How's the view? Maybe you look out, and true to life story, you look out, and no matter where you go in my house, all you see is fields. There's just fields everywhere. Fields, couple spotted houses, just fields forever. I love my view. But maybe you go out the front door and you're looking at a nuclear plant. Well, then we would have to bring it down. And then what about privacy? Privacy fits into the overall marketability of the home. Do you have a lot of privacy? Where I live, you do. But in some places, you're in your bedroom and you can literally look out the window and see into your neighbor's bathroom and see him reading People's Magazine on the John. So that would be no. It would be inferior, right? So play with this scale a little bit after you've seen the home. And this will help you kind of hone in on your perfect listing price. Okay, this takes the guesswork out of it. For those of you who are newer in real estate and you've never done an MLS CMA, you do one of those and you're going to rip your hair out trying to get this information. Rip your ever-loving hair out. Like, it does not do this. This program encompasses everything that you need so that you can take the guesswork out of it. Okay. You can do your CMA here, right in here. So you can do your CMA. We have lots of trainings on that. Not going to go over that today. There is one in the one blog, and we will do a follow-up training on the RPR CMAs, but I really wanted to go over the property information because this is where I start. I start to build out the property profile on the property information sheet, and I go through all of these tabs. This really helps me kind of hone in on the demographics of the neighborhood and the particulars of the property. And then I do my CMA, because by the time I get to the CMA function, I have a better understanding of what's really holding this property back or what's going to be the selling features of the property. Last but not least is going to be your neighborhood summary. I didn't think it would come up. But your neighborhood summary is going to tell you a little bit about the neighborhood, including who the neighbors are. So this is going over that median price again. And then this is going to tell you the livability index of the property. So this is a 46 out of 100. So this is telling you that it scores a 57 on affordability and accessibility. It's low on 30 because it is a long way from access to life, work, and play. We don't have a whole lot of out there. You're going to have to drive 35 minutes to get your groceries on a Sunday because we are so isolated. The score is low for 31 for transportation. There is no public transportation that goes out there. However, we scored high on clean air and water. Health is 42, prevention, access, and quality, again, because it's so isolated out there. Civil and social engagement, 44 is pretty low, meaning there's not a whole lot to do out there. And opportunity, inclusions and possibility, 56 is kind of middle of the road. It means we have a pretty mixed area or neighborhood out there. So the score kind of came in low at 46, assuming that, all of these items are important to you in buying a home. Okay, occupations. Where do people work at that live out by us is healthcare and social assistance. Second is manufacturing. Third is transportation and warehousing. Fourth is retail trade. And fifth is construction. So that's where people are working. Here's your nearby neighborhoods. So if you can't find something here, or if they want to move to a different neighborhood, but not be too far away, it is giving you some suggestions on other neighborhoods nearby. All right. Any questions on that stuff? No? All right. Next, we're going to housing, which is a subcategory of the neighborhood. This is giving you more in-depth information where median home value, median list price. It's telling you where the new listings are. There is not enough data for active listings, pending listings. It looks like we have one listing on the market and one pending. Like I said, not a whole lot happens out in the sticks. You can go to the people tab here. So it's going to tell you about the people that live there, the population, population density, population change. Median age is 43 years old. Guess I am part of the median. Education levels per population. How many are less than 9th, high school, bachelor's, grad, college? We have a good amount of college people out there. That's great. And then population of children by age are right here. Population of adults of age groups, households with children. Why do we need all this information? What would you use this information for?
Well, from a buyer's perspective, maybe they're looking for a particular neighborhood, like with families or younger people or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I love that. Yeah, you definitely would use that for a buyer's agent. If somebody says, I want to be in an area that has other small children, you could say, okay, well, currently in this zip code, there are 210 middle school kids, 79 high school kids, 177 toddlers, and 271 elementary school kids. As a listing agent, what would you use this data for?
Well, you could, potentially use it for marketing purposes, like targeting people of the same age who may be wanting to, fit into like that same neighborhood or whatever, lifestyle, that type of thing.
Exactly. That's the answer. That's the answer is who's going to be our demographic. And that's something that a lot of realtors don't think about. We just put the house on the market to talk about the house. Who are we targeting? Our descriptions and our advertising for each home should have a target audience. So if you look at households with children, there are 237 households with children in Eden Valley. Married without children is 442, and single with children is 75. So let me ask you this, knowing everything that you've now learned about this property, why would we not advertise this as the perfect single person with children home? Why would we not specifically, we wouldn't want it to exclude that person, but why would we not specifically put out marketing designed to attract single people with children?
What's it called? Fair housing.
No, that's why we wouldn't exclude them, but why wouldn't we put out the marketing directed towards that classification of buyers? Because if you see, we've got 442 here and 237. So these people are our primary demographic, more so married without children. So why? Why aren't we including the single person?
It's simply not a good fit for that person. Like that, there's probably less buyers out there in that with like that demographic and other attributes, or for a lack of a better term, it's just not a good fit for them.
No, it's not a good fit. But what are some of the fundamental reasons as to why it would be a bad fit? I want you to think deeper. Why would it be a bad fit? Would we advertise this property as come to scenic Eden Valley for your low maintenance living? No, we wouldn't. Single people with children have less time. So what's important to them? Low maintenance, right?
Yeah, a shorter commute to the grocery store or whatever.
Yeah, shorter commute to the grocery store, less grass to cut, less tasks to do. Thank you. So this would not be a good fit for an individual, whether it's a single parent, married, non-married, whatever, but an individual with children would not have the time or the quality of life in this Eden Valley home because it requires so much work. And it's so isolated. It's a long way from the grocery store. It's a long way from the bank. It's a long commute to work. It's a long way from the school. Okay. So we would be really looking at advertising this to families or couples. So, and like I said, we never exclude, we never say this is the perfect family home or this is the perfect married couple home, but we do want our marketing to not say specific things that are important to single people with children when they are not true. That's called providing misinformation, which is actually against the law. So we want to be vigilant of that, and we should be thinking about our demographic and marketing by before we put that home in the market and looking at this data, because it's the only way to really know what is going on. Okay. All right. I'm going to keep it short here. We're running a little longer, but do we have any questions on RPR before I let you guys go? No? Anything that you guys want to see specifically? Yeah, Jim.
I've used it for farming, for addresses and stuff for my letters. I use it for farming to print out labels just to make my life easier. Just, peel it off and stick it on the envelope. But I've done it for that.
Yeah, you can. And you do that right through this prospecting button right here. And do it on the guided tours, and it'll show you how to go through it. So prospecting, I want to prospect for sellers. It's going to tell me do my research here. And then I can put in a property address. And you can start doing your prospecting reports right in through here, which is great. So again, there's a training for that on the one blog. We did it probably a year ago. It's about time to redo it. But if you want to look into that, you absolutely can. So, all right. Well, that's all I have for you today on the mini training. Of course, I will stay on the phone in case anybody has any questions that they don't want to ask in the group.